My name is Lindsey Brown, and my audience consists of Jeff Brown, William Brown, and my mom, Lisa Brown, behind the camera. My purpose statement: I will convince my audience that they should take action in combating issues such as homelessness, hunger, and poverty. At age 16 in Britain, Tosh was forced to leave her home due to unforeseen circumstances and crash on friends' couches and various sofas because she didn't have a home to call her own. Sadly, this is the current situation of over 100 million children and teens across the world. Many children and adults are suffering around the world from poverty, hunger, and homelessness. And some people aren't as lucky as Tosh, who ended up finding a facility to live in and call home, and have to result to living their entire lives hungry, impoverished, and on the streets. I will convince my audience that they should take action in combating issues such as homelessness, hunger, and poverty. My credibility consists of working for 2 years at Bowery Soup Kitchen, which is located in Tribeca, where I got to meet and serve various homeless people and impoverished people that lived on the streets of New York City. In this speech, I will be discussing issues at the global, national, and even local level. First, let's take a look at what causes homelessness, hunger, and poverty across the world. There are very many different factors of homelessness, poverty, and hunger, but I'm going to look at 2 specifically today. The first one being economic changes. So, even though sadly we have no control over the economy, as the economy is down, that means that our jobs available are down, meaning that a lot of families fall under the poverty line and have a really hard time getting back up. But as the economy grows and job available grows, then our families can rise above the poverty line and eventually own a home, afford food, and get off the streets. And the second factor of poverty, hunger, and homelessness is inequality between countries. So for example, America is an industrialized country, meaning that in America, whether we want to believe it or not, we do have a very high standard of living, and we have more resources available for those who are impoverished, and we have a lot more health services available for them. And also, for example, in Afghanistan, which is an unindustrialized country, there are not as many resources concerning health, food, shelters, and there is not much education, not many jobs, and there's a high rate of scarcity within water and food, as a lot of it is contaminated as a result of poor health services. And so this inequality between the countries does cause a larger divide and makes it really hard for those who lived in third world countries to rise above this poverty line, so many of them result to living in that their entire life. While there are many causes of poverty, hunger, and homelessness, they affect the world, nation, and community. The first way that they affect our world is poor health. So there are not many healthcare services available in these third world countries specifically, and as a result, people get contaminated through water with malaria, AIDS, and other life-threatening diseases. And locally, we are fortunate enough to have an organization called Mercy Med, which accepts impoverished and people in need of health services to get these health services and mental services for free. Another effect of poverty, hunger, and homelessness is crime. So how are you supposed to gain basic necessities when you don't have a job to pay for yourself, or you have to live on the streets? Many people resort to stealing, loitering, or even violent crime just to get what they need to make ends meet. And it is often said that violence and crime are a symptom of poverty, not a catalyst. And for many impoverished people, the prize that crime yields may outweigh the risk of being caught, especially given that their opportunity cost is lower than that of a wealthier person. Thus, poverty should increase crime rates. There is also a lack of education across the world, especially in third world countries. And this lack of education is the root cause of poverty across the world. So basically, if you're a child or a young adult and you can't read, write, or perform basic simple math equations, you're not going to get employed. And that's in America and across the world. So education can be the catalyst needed to pull families out of poverty. And knowledge does benefit future generations, as if we increase the amount of education that we have worldwide. That means that future generations of children will have a better opportunity to rise above the poverty line and own a home and be successful. And education also improves health standards, food security, and gender equity. And so it is important that we should act now. So you may be wondering, how can I help? So I always look at it as a small ripple effect. There are very many small little tasks that you can do to ensure a better future. The first one being volunteering, donating to different shelters and organizations in your community or globally, funding various education programs for children and young adults to ensure that they can be employable, and improving the economy, which is kind of something harder to do, but it is feasible. And so, as a local community, we should also focus on providing services for those in our community so that they can have good health services and be employable to our businesses in Columbus. And in order to improve and decrease the amount of poverty, we should have a reduction in inequality and income differences, which would improve poverty levels. And everyone deserves a chance, whether it be clean water, a hot meal, or an education. Thank you for listening to my speech.